My thing is, if you're brave enough to take on a critique from me, you're probably going to get into the industry. Hello, I'm Brian Stelfreeze, and today I'll be painting Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel. I could not avoid being a storyteller. My brother and I we were just kind of poor kids living in South Carolina, so we would go outside and just draw in the sand all day long. I was always a comics fan, but I didn't even know that that was a viable job that you could have. And every piece of art that I'd ever seen, I just assumed that people did that on their spare time. My first official art job was working at a newspaper. The editor-in-chief took me under his wing. My brother was my first mentor. He was my second mentor. I really looked up to him. Then I got a job at an illustration studio amongst all these 50, 60-year-old illustrators, and they would teach me everything that they knew. I would just go into one guy's office and just kind of hang out there all day asking endless questions. My entire career is a series of fortunate accidents. I was at a Chicago convention and Bobby Chase and Bob Harris started flipping through the stuff that I had on the table, and they both were like, "We'd like to get you to do some stuff for Marvel." And Bobby Chase got me to do a cover for the Marvel Swimsuit Illustrated book. And I was just like, yep, that's the way to break in. You know? With this piece, it's a combination of acrylics and watercolor. So I started things off with acrylics to get my darks in, and then I started laying in watercolors. I like the idea of kind of going with the mentorship, and she's mimicking her pose, like this is her hero. And after I get the idea down, then I refine things. So I go layer after layer after layer. Then I go in with the colors. With every other medium, you're in control. But with watercolors, it's almost like you have to collaborate with the medium. You have to react to what the watercolors are doing. By the end of the piece, I'm always surprised. I'm always going to be an illustrator, I'm always going to be a comic book artist, but at the same time, I'm always going to be an instructor. I teach a figure drawing session. For me, figure drawing, it's just drawing for the fun of drawing, because that takes me back to when I'm hanging out with my brother. Low pressure, drawing specifically to learn. When I go to conventions, these young people coming up with their portfolios, I think it's important for me to share some of my time with them, just like those old graybeards shared their time with me. And oftentimes with someone like Mark Brooks, he was a boomerang. He came back over and over and over again.
I met Brian when I was probably 21 or 22. And not only did you look at my portfolio, you sat there with me for 2 hours. It was 4 years of art school in 2 hours. It was nice. Unbelievable. Yeah. You taking that 2 hours with me meant more to me than I think you will ever realize.
Oh.
I mean, it changed the way I drew.
When an artist that you've mentored becomes successful, that is the coolest thing in the world. The mentor relationship changes over time. The occasions when I get to kind of hang out with Mark, we're still talking about the same thing. But now they're not doing something right or wrong. They have their own personal meaning in the choices that they make, and they can pass that on to me. It's all about the moisture on the paper and the moisture on the brush, and it's hard to look at a brush and tell exactly what that is. So a lot of times it's just easier for me to kind of go, okay, that's exactly what I want.